All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining the second session, Magma for 5G. This session, we're going to focus on understanding what are all the features that is under development right now and what are considered to be developed in future. When I say considered, it is still a roadmap, meaning it's not definite. So today we are going to spend time together to share what we think that are potential candidates and wanted to get inputs from you all to really see how we can shape up the roadmap for Magma for 5G, right? So that's the thought process of this particular session. Because it's a developer and testing forum, we got to put some of the slides that can help us to, trigger the discussion. And also as an educational side of it and learning side of it, there are some slides that we have put together, which we believe will be very helpful for the developers and testers in this forum. So having said that, let's get started with the session. Most of you know me again. My name is Kader Khan, Senior Vice President at Wave Labs, head the Connectivity and Industry 4.0 Business Unit. With me, I have Suresh and Parthiban, who's also my colleagues who were jointly presenting the previous session, and they will also be doing that for this session. So the agenda for this session, the original agenda for this session are those that are in the black letters here. And as you all know, those who attended the previous session, because of the time limit, we could not go through the demo. So we'll probably start with that quickly, and then we will start understanding what are the features that are under development, Jan-Feb timeframe. In our previous session, we understood what are the features that are already available that we all can use it and test it in the lab. Then after that, we will talk about how Magma is, what's the between Magma and LFN. We'll talk a little bit about LFN blueprint, how Magma is a part of it. And we'll also talk about a little bit from the developer and tester point of view, 3GPP standardization and requirements. And we'll also talk a little bit about TIP and then compliance of Magma against the TIP. And we'll try to get a lot of inputs from you all, and I'll write it down. I know that there was a gentleman gave us an input voice over NR, and I kindly requested him to reach out to me offline to understand more about why he needs that feature and use cases, so we can prioritize that in our community roadmap. So likewise, I really wanted you all to open up and share what features are important for you and why. Right? If the time is not if the time is the issue here, we can always touch base later on. You know how to join the Slack from the previous session. We'll also share the link again in this session, and you always can reach out to me and other community members, and please share your requirements. We'll be happy to work with you to see how we can help you all together to advance the Magma for 5G, right? So having said that, yeah, there's one more thing that I missed. So up to here is what is planned in case if the communication and discussions are not happening, it's going to happen offline about the requirements. Then we also had some backup slides to ensure that we cover 1 hour of the session, where we wanted to really explain what requirement that we have gathered so far from talking to different people to implement network slicing as well as some security enhancements, just as a backup slide. In case if you have more time to go through. If not, we will skip that. So having said that, let me pass on the floor to Parthiban to quickly run us through how he and the community members test the Magma that has been developed by the community, what are all the different steps that they go through and what tools that they use, and probably a short demo. Parthiban, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Kader. Hello, everyone. Yeah, in Magma community, we are very committed to get a quality code out for everyone. And that's one of our main principles against the testing. And what we do here in Magma is whenever there is a feature development going on, in parallel, we go ahead and make a unit testing together with it. And we have set ourselves some target like minimum of 60% code coverage has to be made when we go and do a PR. That meaning that the code, whatever is getting checked into our Magma repos, all get actually qualified that it's been qualified for the white box level testing, and make sure that unit testing are covered up to that level. And together with it, we go in committed, and all that committed code which goes into the CI process, which gets into the integration testing of it. We use various tools here. for the proprietary tools also is being used here along with the open source tools. And these integration testing, which obviously we could be able to find out that end-to-end testing is done here with all the three components, whatever we have been talking about from the previous session. Suresh had explained with an architecture. We put up the Magma 5G SA in the access gateway, and we do have connected that one to the Magma orchestrator, which is running in a public cloud. In for the verification purpose, we have running it in an AWS instance as well for the and it's available for even the community members to come and try it out. That's where we have hosted it in AWS. And this integration testing carried out between the Magma orchestrator with the Magma access gateway. And we continue to do the regression testing over there along with the integration testing. And based on the results of the integration testing, we could see that if there are bugs, obviously, whenever there is a code developed, all the developers and testers understands that the whole idea is to find out all the bugs and clear it off at the testing phase itself. So that's where we go ahead and fix all the bugs during the bug phases. And then it goes for the next field trials and the SIT level testing over there. And you could see here on the right hand side, I have put up a picture over here, which gives you the setup in our lab where we have a GNB, which are connected over the cables through the RF chamber to the UE actually. And that's where we go ahead and test it with an access gateway box. And these access gateway boxes are very, very simple boxes where it runs on even a 2-core with 4 GB memory in it. That's the minimum system requirement for our Magma access gateways. And as we scale, it can horizontally scale as well. And we could be able to scale the performance as well by that. That's the idea of having this access gateway in a smaller footprint as well. And this setup gives you a flexibility to test it in real equipments. And we do test it with multiple GNBs right away. And this testing is in progress. But what I have in the next slides is to show up a demo on a simulator environment, what we could be able to do it in a private lab setup. And then it can be hosted in a private data center or in a public cloud as well. That's the setup. I'm going to have a small demo in the coming up slides over here. So Kadar, can we move to the next slide?
Sure, Parthiban. Thanks a lot. I cannot stress enough. I did mention in our previous session, even in this session, the success of this, we have the basic functionality available and it's in the master branch, right? The success of the adoption of Magma and the quality of the Magma depends on the number of interoperability that we do with vendors, operators, system integrators, and whatnot, right? That are out there. Yes. So my kind request to every one of you is, reach out to us if you want to. If you are a vendor having a G-Node B, reach out to us. Let's work together to do some interop. Likewise, anyone that wanted to do some kind of an interop in your lab, please reach out to us. You know me, you can find me in Slack. My email address, kadar@wavelabs.ai. So that's the only way we can make this successful together as a community. I cannot stress enough, and that's why I wanted to really repeat it again. Looking forward to your help on this regards. Moving on, Parthiban, please.
Yeah, thanks, Kadar, for that note. So yeah, we do run an automated CI testing, and you could see here there is this is a dashboard screenshot over here, which is running on the Magma community, where the Magma community is committed, as I mentioned earlier, to improve the code quality much, so that way the community members have a good code base and which could be useful for them. So what's happening here is this CI actually, which is make sure all the code commits, whatever happens, and the continuous integration keeps churning out all of the builds over there and keeps pushing out. These different test tools are used here with a test agent, which will pull all of these builds and run parallel testing over here. And these parallel test reports are being uploaded into this central dashboard. You could see one of the results, which is coming out from one of the test tools, which gives you detailed inputs about what are the scenarios tested and how many of this coverage is being there at each level of test cases level. And these logs are also being accessible for the community members. On click of this, each of the build number, we could be able to see the test report along with the debug logs of particular to that build tested over there is also visible in this central dashboard. And we are open to even share the the community with all of this test reports and test validation data as well. That's where it's been open, and members are welcome to go ahead and take a look at these central dashboards as well. So we welcome members to come and take a look at it, and ready to work together to improvise this as well.
Thank you, Parthiban. So just a kind of a recap here. This is what in our previous session we explained, the list of features that's already available today and what we have implemented in each of these features. Now Parthiban would quickly show through the demo. So Parthiban, would you want me to kind of bring up the video?
Yes, Kader. Yeah, please. Can you play an pre-recorded video? Team, here the whole idea is to make sure we do a pre-recording just to avoid any network glitches over here. Yeah, this you could see here we are at a straight start. We could show the all the important services which are running in the Magma. To start with, what is the status of all of the services? As Suresh in the architectural, he was explaining about the MME service. He was talking about which is corresponds to the AMF in 5G, and the session D, which is corresponds to the SMF, and the pipeline D service, which is the third one, which is right now you could see the status of it, which is corresponds to the UPF in the 5G actually. So this gives you the picture about all the services running and the mandatory SCTP ports, which are supposed to be up and running here, 38412. You could see here the results of it. It's all up and running to listen on the N1, N2, and N3 interfaces over there from the GNB side of it and the access gateway side of it. And yeah, what we are here trying to do is this is an view of our NMS dashboard, the orchestrator, the Magma orchestrator. We are trying to add a new subscriber for us to test that, make a call with that new subscriber over here. We are copying the IMSI value over it, and we are just adding it into the dashboard so that the corresponding authentication vectors, which are supposed to be configured from that of a UE to that access gateway, should be matching over here. We are using the same OPZ and the auth key values added into the configuration tables. And we are setting to the default APN. In the 5G world, it is the DNN actually. You could see here we added one of the subscriber, which is ending with the value 5. And we could save now and add this subscriber here in the Magma orchestrator. You could see that it is being listed now. And from here, we will be moving. Yeah, we'll move back to the access gateway terminal where we have some CLI commands available, which will give us the flexibility to go and verify whatever configuration I added in the NMS are able to be listed down, and it's been available in the access gateway. I have used the one of the CLI command here, and I will be able to see that all the subscriber I added over there is being listed in the access gateway. And this is the dashboard view of this ABOT tool, which is one of the commercial tool available in the market. And we use this tool for end-to-end integration testing purpose. And right now we are going here to test the basic setup, the NGAP setup, and the response over here. We are executing the test case now to see that we are able to execute it. And this is the execution window within this test tool, where it gives you details about what are the packet counts available for this particular testing. And it also gives you the details about what are the different transaction counts over here. And there are green capsules, which is on the top, which will give you the details about what is the actual message which is running between in this particular procedure. And it gives you the details about each of the message flows as well when this execution is completed. You could see that it also gives the status of execution completed, then the window gets refreshed. And you can see that the ABOT actually gives you the detailed logs of this particular execution. And they have named it as an artifact where you could be able to go and see all of the test related data over there. And we could be able to go and see here what was tested now. And all of this logs can be visualized along with the PCAP files. You could see here, it shows the IP address of the GNB, and it shows the IP address of the AMF, which is actually the system under test. And we could click on this PCAP file. You could be able to read it through here in an editor, or we could even go ahead and open that PCAP files and view it in Wireshark as well. Yeah. So yeah, this is what I was mentioning about. We could be able to go and open it in an Wireshark and view them as well. This is a known tool for every one of us to visualize all of the packet captures. Yeah, getting back into the ABOT dashboard window, we could be able to see the logs here. These logs are actually the system under test logs. We could be able to capture those logs, and we'll be able to visualize here in this single dashboard itself, all the logs which are being captured from the Magma Access Gateway actually. So you could see here the sys logs are also captured, the MME logs are also captured here, and this has been visualized. And getting back, we like to execute one of the next test case, which is a little more complex. We are trying to run an initial registration, and this includes the authentication procedure, and also it includes the PDU session establishment. I think Suresh has taken us, all of us, through in the previous session, all of the call flows, which explains the initial registration, authentication procedures with the SUPI, GUTI based registrations, and the PDU session establishment, and how the traffic gets established over there. Again, here, this window gives you the details of packet counts, what the packets are, counts are being given in different colors here, which gives you the different packets coming up from the different procedures. Actually, you could see, and you could see all the transaction counts as well as the message flows, which are there in the green capsules in the top. You could see that it gives you the details of execution status as well. And the window gets automatically refreshed, and you could be able to get back to see that. So Kadar, is there? Okay, looks like there was a glitch in the video. Yeah. So getting back to the logs. Yes, we could see here there is a complex call flow ladder diagram which is laid out by this test tool itself, and it gives you all the PCAPs from each of this message flows. You could click on any of the PCAPs, you could be able to view them in an editor, as well as you could be able to go ahead and view them in the Wireshark window as well. You could be able to capture them. Yeah, you could download that. Over here, there is a download button, and you could put an NG filter over there, and you could be able to see that all the procedures which are for initial registration, including authentication procedure, and the PDU session establishment procedures are also being captured here. You could see that in this packet capture. Yeah, getting back here, you could go back and see the logs. Again, we will be able to see all of the system under test logs, that meaning the Magma Access Gateway logs, the MME log, which corresponds to AMF, and you could be able to get the sys logs as well. It will gives you all the details of configuration and the debug at a higher level. So this gives you the flexibility to view all of the logs, including test logs and the debug logs from the Magma Access Gateway in this one single window itself. You could see that the session is established, which is being highlighted over here, this cursor. Yeah. We will move on a little more features in this ABOT test tool. There is an analytics page here within this test tool, which gives you details about, yeah, you could be able to filter this analytic data as well in this. They have an machine learning capabilities within this analytics engine, where you could be able to filter it out based on the date and time. And we could now filter it out. What are the tests we have carried out? You could see that there are two tests which is carried out, the NGAP setup request and response and the initial registration request. So these two tests we could be able to analyze here in this analytics dashboard page, which gives you details about the exact call flows. The ladder diagrams are visible over here. It gives you details about all of the KPIs. It gives you the CPU usage, memory usage, and the actual usage disk. And it gives you details about what is being tested as well. It gives you a storyboard with one line of explanation and all the scenarios, whatever being tested now, with the protocol interfaces and the packet count details. Everything is being visualizable here in this analytics page over here. So this comes to the end of this short demo, which gives you a confidence now that the master branch Magma github.com magma/magma has the latest code base, which is now ready for community members to go ahead and try it out. Feel free to try it out. Please do reach us if you have any difficulty. We are ready to support you here. Yeah, over to you, Kadar.
Thank you, Parthiban. That was a good session. Let me check here, right? So again, so what basically it depicts, the reason that we put together the few slides and wanted to show the demo is, again, it's a developer and tester conference. We wanted to reiterate and share how we test the Magma. It's very important, right? Starting from the unit testing to the integration testing, to the regression testing, to the performance testing, with the real equipment. So would like you guys to come in and contribute and help us to test and further increase the quality of the product and solutions in the in the open source, right? In the Magma GitHub. We invite you to do that, reach out to us, and that would be really very, very helpful. Let's do this together as a community. Now, moving on to the actual agenda. So if if you see what we have achieved so far is we have understood what are all the features that is currently supported, and we all as a community have to help each other to test it in our labs, do an interop with the different vendor products that are out there. Now, the next step is to kind of understand at a very high level, there are some features that are under development right now, as we speak in Jan-Feb timeframe, right? We will not get into too much of details into this with the interest of time, but I would like Suresh to just give us a high level understanding of what is it that's happening right now as we speak. Suresh, over to you if you're able to.
Yeah, thanks, Kadar. In January and February, we are adding a couple of features into Magma. The goal is to support scale in, scale out of each of the network functions in a disaggregated mode as per the service-based architecture, right? So one requirement to realize that is each network function is to be stateless. So how do we achieve that? As such, the access side and also the session of each UE is stateful, right? So how do we achieve the scale in, scale outs? The first order approach for that is make these network functions stateless. Say, for example, AMF maintains UE context. Store the UE context in Redis DB. That's the approach we adopted. Why Redis DB is a design consideration. And say a network function, I mean the access daemon, or currently it is still named MME. Say it goes down and restarts, or the orchestrator sponsors a new instance, or a scaling decision happens, or a scale out decision happens. The UE state is to be persisted somewhere, and the access daemon is to latch onto the current state of the UE, and then it is to continue serving the UE from its current state. That's possible through stateless feature, wherein as part of the incarnation of the daemon means the access daemon reads the state or the context from the Redis DB and then proceeds to the operations. That is one feature. And the other one is IPv6 support. Everyone knows about IPv6 support. Say many combinations are possible. Say UE is using V4 address or V6 address, and the service hosted in the data center of the operator is behind a host that runs V4 or V6 address. A few combinations are possible. And then the tunnel establishment and the flow rules in the OVS also are to be associating to that kind of compatible requirement. So that's all getting supported as part of the IPv6 support. And as such, in Jan-Feb timeframe, we're adding basic IPv6 support. Subsequently, Magma community will add full-blown V6 support. And then in Jan-Feb, we're also working on session modification. As such, code is almost ready. And it is to go through the integration test and regression test. And most likely the feature will be available before end of February. And there's a goal for the community to come up with a distro for 5G SA. Towards that end, we're working on some of the stability metrics. What is the uptime? What is the kind of memory profiling on the system when the system is left to itself for, say, 72 hours? So that activity is going on now for 4 policies per UE and 4 sessions per UE. And up to 200 UEs connected to 12 GNBs. So this is the exercise going on now. We take up questions towards the end because we have only 30 minutes left. Yeah.
Thanks for considering the time. Let's make it a little interactive. Let's see if there is any questions here. Louis, Parthiban, I mean, if you wanted to put this, the documentation link, Slack link, I would appreciate it in the chat. So, the members can join. Those who are not already in the Slack channel can join. So this slide basically explains the implementation, how we have done for network initiated session modification. We'll skip this for today. In the presentation, it's already available. So let's move on to the next topic for today. So now a little bit we are going to talk about LFN, right? So if you go back in the history before the Magma was an independent org, and around I would say last year 2021 early first quarter, it was brought inside the umbrella of Linux Foundation, called it as Magma Core Foundation. Brought different activities together, different members, companies together, and under the umbrella of Linux Foundation, right? So what we have started seeing after that is there's a lot of cooperations across different communities, open source communities that Linux Foundation manages and leads, as well as we started seeing a lot of commercial projects leveraging Magma, right? So I know that 4G is kind of matured. Even on 5G, we have been engaged in many with many vendors for the interop testing from the community, as well as some kind of proof of concept. Because these are very important. I'm probably saying this for the third time, right? Again, kindly request you all, let's engage ourselves. Let's test together and make sure it works with everyone for different use cases. And that's the only way we can evolve this open source to a high quality open source that can be adopted for the commercial uses, right? So these kind of things are started happening, and a lot of engagements, a lot of discussions, is started happening. Basically, that's why I kind of put this as a tagline: rise in adoption and interest in Magma 5G is kind of started. In fact, to cater that, we also started a monthly Magma 5G meeting that happens second week of every month. January is kind of a break. We'll resume it in February, later third or fourth week, and then it will continue rest of the year today. So just to give you the perspective, that's also another reason why we kind of started doing these meetings, because there's a lot of rise in adoption, and a lot of people started asking a lot of questions around what Magma is, how do I install, and so on. Now, when I talk about LFN blueprint, and I know that there is a separate track that's going to happen in next 2 to 3 days, the number of different open sources that are managed by the LFN that are brought together to create, they call it as a community-driven integration and proof of concept, right? I really like that word that involves multiple open source initiatives. Why do we do that? To really show the end-to-end use cases, demonstrating the 5G architecture, right? So that's what they call it as a 5G super blueprint that pretty much has end-to-end everything, right? From the application network, from RAN core to the infrastructure, managers, service managers, resource managers, orchestrators. I mean, you can see this pretty much, right? It's got everything, and those I'm pretty sure most of you are already contributing towards this. For those who are not contributing, I would sincerely request you all to join this and contribute towards this end-to-end open source concept initiative, right? Community-driven integration and proof of concept initiative. So if you look at this diagram, Magma plays one of the critical component into this LFN architecture as a for 5G core network, and that's why we were having this previous session, and also we are having today's session. Glad to be part of this initiative, and looking forward to work with other open source community to really achieve this end-to-end 5G super blueprint. Moving on, I wanted to a little bit, because it's a developer and tester conference, I want to kind of touch upon a little bit on 3GPP. We all know, right? The telecom systems are interoperable system, no matter from which part of the world you call, or from which operator you call to which other operators, it's completely interoperable, right? So that's the beauty of telecom. I mean, it's worldwide. You can connect you and so on. So now this is made possible because of the standards, and we all religiously follow the standards. At least yeah, most of us will have a different architectures and may have used, like, for example, Magma uses gRPC architecture for the internal communications and things like that, right? But when it comes to the external communications, if you want to connect with the external HSS, external entities, you've got to follow the standards. That's the only way you can build an interoperable system. So that we all know, right? The 3GPP plays an important role. I just wanted to kind of give few tips to the developers and testers here. So if you look at it, when you think about 5G, it all started around 2015, right? And it kind of consolidated into 74 use cases. If you look at 22.801, right? The specification, 01 or 891, it's too small for my eyes, 891, right? So if you look at the specification, you would actually see those 74 use cases that are built upon, and that's kind of kickstarted a lot of activities around 5G. And fast forward, what happened was all those use cases were consolidated into 4 major areas to start building the standards and the requirements for that, right? So that's basically defined in 22.261. You should probably go and look at it. And you would actually see there basic capabilities. A lot of things are categorized under basic capabilities, performance, security. And as a fast forward, right, every release from 15, 16, 17 now, 16 is released, finalized, 17 is under work, and 18, the planning is happening. If you look at every release that we advanced, the new verticals were added, new service capabilities with different technologies, how it can actually help verticals were added, and how the communication 4G or 5G can really help to achieve all those use cases were added. It's a good document if someone is starting from the scratch to really look at it and learn a high level picture. And next important point that I want to say is there are specifications like 21914, 915, 916. I also recommend you guys to go and look at this. What does it basically tell you is, see, most of the time we as a developers and testers, what do we want to do? What do we want to really understand is what are all the features that are implemented on this release 14, 15, and 16 in the standards, right? And these are the documents that gives you in one place at a very high level all these features. In other words, work items, that's what it's called in 3GPP, is available or implemented in this release and available in these different standards, right? So that's a key message. And if you wanted to also understand what is happening in release 17 and what in release 17 is ongoing right now, some of the work items are completed 100%, some of the work items are completed 60%, 50%, and things like that, right? So if you wanted to really understand what is the progress made and so on, you can also go and look at another place where just go to the 3GPP org and click specification and go to the work plan, and there you can actually see all the features that are under development, and all the feature study items that are going to happen in release 18 is also available out there. So this is very important as a developers and testers for all of us to understand. Most of the time what we do is we go on Google, right? If you want to find the specification. Now it's an easy way to find the specification is go to the 3GPP standards website, and it's pretty easy to identify. And it's also pretty easy to identify, like, let's say, for example, if you wanted to implement a feature for the sake of discussion, right? Let's say a 5G message service from this list, right? You wanted to implement. And do you want to really know which are all the specifications, the delta added to support this particular feature? You can easily find that out from this work plan, they call it as, right? So every feature has different levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and each levels, right, has its associated specifications, and tells these are all the specifications that are impacted by adding these features. So it becomes very easy for the developers and testers to really understand, even the architects. Okay, I want to implement this feature. So what is the delta that I need to implement in my product based on the standards? You would find the answer if you're going to go through this document and find yourself, you'll be able to find yourself the answer. Okay, so it's very important as a developer and tester, and we wanted to really bring this up and share it with you all. And there are a number of features here. I kind of wanted to, stop here for Q&A. But before that, what I wanted to do is there's a number of features in 3GPP. Likewise, if you look at TIP, right? TIP has defined different types of, 5G scenarios and use cases, how operators can use it. As an example, the service provider can completely manage the network for the enterprises. But it's going to be an independent network, or through network slicing, or through sharing RAN and control plane, or just a third-party neutral host, not operator, someone else provides the private networks to the enterprises, right? So there's a number of scenarios has been defined. And TIP is another organization, for those who do not know, right? It's a global community. It's basically a global, they call it as a global community of a company and organization coming together and working together to accelerate the development and deployment of the standard-based solutions, right? Disaggregated standard-based solutions. That's how they position themselves. They also write some white papers and requirements, how different things has to be done. That includes private 5G. And recently they also completed their fixed wireless access requirement document. So what you see here is the private 5G scenarios that I talked about in the previous slide. How does it compare to the definition of non-public network in 3GPP scenarios and ACIA scenarios? How does it compare? And what kind of the use cases that you can support with these different types of architecture or the 5G architecture, and what kind of an industry that it is applicable for. For example, standalone private local network could be applicable for the manufacturing industry. So the point I want to make here is that it's pretty detailed, right, and very informative, and it's very important we as developers and testers understand the big picture, how the standards work, how different organizations are coming together and really helping us to understand. And understanding this big picture is very important. It becomes easy for us to identify the delta and write the requirements, implement the features. Likewise, the testers identifying the delta, come up with the test cases and test. So these are very, very critical for us as the developers and testers. And moving on, like I mentioned, fixed wireless access is a requirement is recently delivered by TIP. Here, the idea of this slide is to basically give you guys some kind of an understanding, against what we support in Magma, right? So now this particular requirement is, built upon based on the number of inputs from various stakeholders for the various use cases for the FWA, fixed wireless access, deployments. So if you look at this TIP requirement document, the requirements are structured into 4 major components, right? So the first one is architectural, second one is implementation, functional and non-functional. So these 2 slides we wanted to put together to kind of explain you the compliance today, the Magma compliance against that TIP FWA requirement document. And the 100% compliance are pretty good. We are almost close to 60% of it. And there are a few partial compliant and a few non-compliant, right? So the reason that we wanted to, again, display this is to stir the discussion among ourselves to understand what is important for you, because you all work in different companies and maybe you are building something in your own company. What is important for you, and how is it supported in Magma? Is it not supported in Magma? If it is not supported, can you support it, and why, right? So that kind of a conversation is very, very important for our community to be successful, and that's one of the reasons we just wanted to kind of display and put this out here. So now what I wanted to really do is I want to open the floor for discussion, right? So we have 20 minutes. As a backup, we do have a couple of other areas that we wanted to cover in case if we have more time. Like I mentioned, we want to share the network slicing requirement that we have put together in the community based on different inputs that came from different stakeholders. We want to go through that. But before that, what's more important is open the floor now and leave the floor. Ask you guys to share it and tell us what is important for you, what requirement is important for you, and things like that. Let me stop here and open the floor for any comments, inputs, questions. I would really appreciate it to make this as an interactive session. All right, I'll stop here, take a breath. Any questions, comments from anyone? I know that in our last meeting, someone asked for voiceover NR. Feel free to unmute and share to the team so we can learn, why you need that and what is the driver. So likewise, if anyone has anything in your mind, please feel free to share. Or if you wanted to look at this presentation, make a note of it offline, and then we wanted to come back and share it with us, you know how to reach us, you can also do that. So let me open the floor here. I am not seeing any messages in the chat, but if anyone wants to unmute and talk and ask questions and share, feel free to do so. Timer starts now. Anyone?
Hi, Kiddo. Here is Catherine. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, Catherine, we can hear you.
Yes, so Kader, I think it was nice to see that you are moving with JGPP compliance as part of your roadmap. And I was wondering if you had an opportunity to review with the team what we were suggesting for service assurance perspective between the integration of Magma and ONAP. As you know, we have the virtual event stream specification, which is part of 3GPP. And I was wondering if it is part also of your plan to be compliant, because then it will facilitate from a service assurance perspective, from a KPI collection perspective, the integration between Magma and the ONAP community.
Thank you, Catherine, for bringing that up, right? Yes, we already have started talking to some of the community members in the ONAP, and we have collected some of the requirements, and we have put together a high-level requirement. Now we are in the process of validation. Maybe we may not have time for today. Maybe what we can do is, Catherine, we can set up an offline session. Just quickly flash the slide here so you can see it. Based on our discussion, we did come up with some kind of requirement, how it needs to be implemented. Network slicing needs to be implemented, how it needs to be integrated with ONAP with its templates, right? As well as what kind of an API that we need to expose as per the definition of the 3GPP spec. We did go through that. If time permits, I'll have Suresh to quickly browse through this today. But definitely, to answer your question, Catherine, at least I may not be able to say when we are going to start implementing it, but I can at least say that we are in the process of talking to ONAP community and understanding how exactly and what exactly needs to be developed in Magma, so the interop and integration can go smoothly.
Yeah, Kader, I take a minute to address Catherine's question.
Please go ahead.
Catherine, on the AGW, we started adding events and the notifications towards the Magma orchestrator. Okay, so once these events are collected and propagated to the northbound, and we also will have rules set up. I silently assume for now you have a rules engine on ONAP that will trigger the corresponding actions to try out the desirable state maintenance in a given situation upon consumption of a particular event. So that's why it calls for a discussion into the capabilities that are there on the northbound service orchestrator, and what kind of event consumption capabilities are there, and what kind of desired state maintenance infrastructure is put up. So we'll discuss those in a detailed session offline. It's a working session, in fact.
Catherine, did you get your answer?
Yes. I mean, it's already a good start. And I think I also like the idea to have a follow-up meeting. I will also send a note to Kandal. I think it's the program manager. Mm-hmm. And having a use case, the fact that you brought on your presentation the network slicing, having a use case, it's also good because at least we can be more concrete. And it was also our intention to kick off the KPI development based on the network slicing use case. So we are aligned there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Thanks for bringing it up. Anyone has any other questions, comments, inputs?
Well, I have another question, but I don't know if anybody else have a question.
Please shoot it, Catherine. Let's.
Okay. We had the question on the ONAP side again. We wanted to know if you have still the plan to use and my apologies if I've missed that today, to use Rebecca Abbott to exercise the gateway. Maybe I should type because I don't spell it nicely.
No, I
Where's the
think
chat?
you got it right. So yeah, Rebecca is the community, as you know, right? The community is made up by different companies, and the different companies have their own test tools. Some use commercial, some use open source, right? So there's a number of open source and commercial test tools are used by different community members. So one of the tool that is also used by the community members, Rebecca, right? So that much I can share it with you, Catherine. And now, can it be used to test network slicing? Yes, right. So we have tried some of that. As you know, there was a demo also going to be presented by Arna Networks on the ONAP slicing, and you would actually see, the ABOT is being used for that. So hopefully it answered your question.
It does. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's generically addressed rather than specifically answered. So this is good. Any other questions from anyone? If I have to really look at what we really achieved since last 2 hours coming together, the first thing that we achieved was kind of understood, we as a team, 5G is a major opportunity for all of us. It's not something new. It's been retold in this forum and re-ascertained in this forum among all of us. And then we started kind of looking at understanding what is Magma, how the Magma architecture is, how is it different from traditional other architecture, what are all the advantages and disadvantages. And Suresh took us through nicely about the architecture and all the features that are currently supported today in the Magma. So that kind of allowed us as the developers and testers to understand, so what is supported currently in Magma. That's a good starting point, right? And then Parthiban kind of took us through how Magma community ensures the quality of the open source, because end of the day, it's very, very important, right? So that reduces the stakeholder companies to take the open source and further do work to harden it, right? So if you are able to heavy lift within the community, it makes easy for the vendors and operators to take it and right away, get onto the job that they wanted to move on. So that's very critical. And we kind of explained about testing, what are the different phases that we do, starting from unit testing on all the way to the integration testing and real equipment testing, performance testing, and so on. And there we kind of stressed, I'm going to say this probably the 4th time. I really invite you all to please reach out to me if you are a vendor, operators, and let's work together. Let's do the interop testing together and see how we can help each other to grow together as well as grow the community, right? This is very important to make this Magma 5G code successful, adoption successful. The collaborative partnership is key. So that we went through that. Then in the second session, we kind of started looking at, we understood as a team what are all the features that was supported currently, and how I can contribute. You understood the GitHub and so on. But we also gave some kind of a visibility as to, as we speak, what we are working on as a community, some of the features. So the bottom line is all the features are there. It's available in the master branch, right? So what is distro? Distro to me is, we all have to just take it and work together and take it to the market, right? So that's what we need to do, and that's where we all have to come together to make that happen. So we understood what's happening as we speak, what kind of features that's getting developed in Jan and Feb. Then we looked at a very high level Magma and how important the success of Magma is within the elephant blueprint, and how important it is to cooperate and work together with different open source community within the elephant to make this 5G elephant blueprint successful. And followed by that, we also looked at, as the developers and testers, there are certain questions that we need to answer. I mean, which spec do I have to go and read, or which release is supporting what features? And okay, this feature is supported in this release. What are all the specs that I need to go and look at to really understand the delta of those features so that I can write the requirement and implement it. Right? And these are very, very important things for the developers and testers. So we kind of went through a couple of slides that can help you guys to understand. And the most important thing is the work plan, right? That's the place that you need to go, and you would actually see not only the features and the associated spec, but also the people who are responsible for that particular feature implementation. You can always reach out to them. They will give you inputs. You can become a better developer, better architect, better designer, better tester. This is very, very important as well. So we went through that quickly as a team together. Then followed by that, we looked at TIP. It's again, there are certain requirement documents that are available out there, and it's very important to kind of understand these kind of implementation requirement documents and the compliance of your open source against that, right? So you know where you stand. And if you look at today with respect to the Magma 5G, we are very close, right? And we are ready to today we are ready pretty much. There's always going to be new things that we need to develop. It's never going to stop, right? The life is all about, otherwise, everything stands still. So there's always going to be something that we need to continue to develop. But today, what we strongly believe in the Magma community is we have what we need. And if we can cooperate and work together as a team, do interop and bring multiple products working together, we can make not only Magma successful, but also your product successful, the ecosystem successful, whether it is an open source ecosystem or a commercial ecosystem successful, and we as an individual successful and our company successful, right? So that's pretty much was the thoughts of having this 2-hour session. We kind of achieved that. We did have a couple of backup slides, like I mentioned, in case if we do have more time available. We wanted to go through some of the requirements that we gathered for a couple of features in the Magma community, to add. One is the network slicing, the other one is security, additional security enhancements. That really, anyways, we prepared that as a backup, and I just wanted to let you guys know, if you are interested to understand these two requirements and help us validating it from your point of view, you can reach out to us. So call for action for me for today's call is a couple of things, right? So the first thing is reach out to us, join the Magma Slack, Magma community. I shared where you can reach out to us in Slack, and you have my email address and the presenter's email address. The first call for action is reach out to us. Let's do interop with all the products that are getting built out there. That's the first call for action. And the second call for action is pretty much, come back to us if you have a requirement, right? You know what we support today, what we are working on. If you need something else that can help you to become successful in what you're doing, again, reach out to us, right? So 2 things, in a simple word. Number 1, reach out to us for interop. 2, reach out to us to share your requirements, and let's work together to build this moving forward together, a solid open source that can help us in many different ways. So with that, I wanted to kind of give a floor, a minute to Suresh and Parthiban to say thanks, and followed by Louis and Heather, if they are available, to say thanks, and then we can close the session. So let me start with Suresh and Parthiban, please.
Yeah, thanks, Kader. I want to address the question from Mauricio in the previous meeting. He asked whether Magma is planning to support voice over NR. We are open to support voice over NR. However, there is a prerequisite and enabler we have to build on Magma. It's a journey we have to take. As a first cut, we need to support AGW to, access gateway to access gateway handoffs. Basically, inbound, outbound roaming scenarios we have to support. And then when voice over NR services are launched in the field, we will end up seeing 4G having more terrestrial coverage and 5G having some islands of coverage. So for that reason, the way we see is for better coverage and better service adoption for new radio, we need to have ENDC support available. That's what we believe. Maybe if anyone having any optimized ideas, you are welcome to suggest. ENDC means basically it is dual connectivity. say basically handoff between from 4G to 5G, 5G to 4G. If we can achieve that, it is easy for us to have service coverage. So net, unless we complete all these handoffs, we can't have voice over new radio realized. So it's a journey we have to take.
Sure, but Suresh, it's I think interest of time, we are already top of the hour, Suresh. So we can take this offline. Let's discuss end of the day, like I said, call for action. Reach out to us for interop. Reach out to us for giving us more requirements. Let's take this offline. Quickly, Parthiban, floor for you. 2 seconds.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Yeah, thanks, Kader. Thanks to all for participation. I think Kader has given enough stress about getting into action. Come back to us for interoperability and requirements. So one other thing I'm here to say is about Wavelabs being one of the contributor into this Magma community has been giving us the AWS-based Magma orchestrator, which is available for the community members to come and try it out. So please feel free to reach us in the Slack channel. We are here and we are ready to do any of the collaborations, ready for any of the POCs. When you want to try even Magma 5G into your use case and you want to put it for some setup, we are there to help you out as a community member. Please do reach out again. The same words.
Thank you, Parthiban. I kind of missed it. Yeah, it's very important, right? Wavelabs is one of the implementation partner of Magma. Likewise, we have a number of other partners in the ecosystem. Please feel free to join and help the community to grow. Like interop, right? So this is again, right? We'll be open to really help whether you are a vendor, service provider, hyperscale, enterprise, system integrators to adopt Magma and make yourself very successful, right? So that's pretty much, thanks for bringing it up. That was also my closing note. I kind of missed that. Thanks, Parthiban. Heather, Louis, if you're still in the call, do you want to say a few words before we wrap up this?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for attending. I think these were terrific sessions. Certainly thank you to the Wavelabs team for putting these presentations together and presenting the information. We'll have a wrap-up call a little bit later, and we'll summarize 2 Magma sessions for today, and also expect to see the presentation and the recording up on the event wiki. Looks like by the end of the day, so that'll be great. The first session presentation is already posted, and look for this one shortly. So thank you again for everybody.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for your
Thanks,
patience
Luis.
and
Thanks,
for
everyone.
attending. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to hear from you. You know how to get to me. Take care and have a wonderful rest of the day, whichever part of the world you are, and wonderful rest of the conference. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you all for your participation. Looking forward.